you having another nightmare?
No,
There, sweetheart.
Somebody.
When Doris Day died at the age of 97, her grandson Ryan hadn't seen her in 14 years. He learned of her passing through Facebook, just like everyone else. The woman who once sang "Secret Love" had secrets of her own, a manager who kept her family at a distance, a $22 million betrayal, and a hidden life behind the high walls of her home in Carmel. Now, Ryan is finally breaking his silence about the beloved grandmother America thought it knew. Doris Day was born Doris Marion Kappelhoff on April 3, 1922, in Cincinnati, Ohio. Raised in a working-class neighborhood, her father William was a music teacher, and her mother Alma a homemaker. Doris had two older brothers, but one, Richard, died before she was born, a loss that shaped her determined spirit. Her parents divorced when she was still a child, a rare and scandalous event at the time. Growing up during the Great Depression, Doris and her mother faced numerous hardships. Yet, her vibrant nature stood out. At just 12, she won a contest by standing on her hands for over 3 hours, earning free dance lessons. Her goal was to become a professional dancer. However, at age 14, a tragic car accident shattered that dream. A train hit the car she was in, and her leg was severely injured. Doctors even considered amputation. She spent over a year recovering, during which she turned to singing for comfort. Inspired by Ella Fitzgerald, she began to sing along to the radio. Her mother noticed her gift and found a vocal coach, Grace Rain, who called Doris the most talented student she'd ever taught. At just 15, Doris began singing professionally, starting in a small Chinese restaurant for $5 a night. One night, bandleader Barney Rapp heard her perform and knew she had something special. Though she was underage to work in clubs, she lied and said she was 18 just to seize the opportunity. In 1939, at age 17, she changed her last name. Rapp found Kappelhoff too complicated for showbiz, and after hearing her sing "Day After Day," he suggested Doris Day. At first, she didn't like it, thinking it sounded too flashy, but eventually she accepted it. That name would soon become iconic. Her big break came in 1940 when she joined Les Brown's band. Although she was terrified at her audition, Brown encouraged her to sing "Embraceable You." She nailed it and got the job. Even though life on the road was tough, especially when she learned of her brother Paul's death in 1941, Doris continued to perform, channeling her emotions into her music. In 1945, she recorded "Sentimental Journey," a song Les Brown didn't even like, but Doris insisted on doing. It became a massive hit, selling over 1 million copies and becoming an anthem for returning World War II soldiers. Doris launched her solo career in 1947 with Columbia Records, securing a groundbreaking 7-year, $1 million contract. Though her first recording session was rocky, she fought to choose her own songs, which led to her breakout hit, "It's Magic." Recorded in just one take, the song sold over 2 million copies and earned her an Oscar nomination. Her ability to bring emotion and authenticity to her performances was unmatched. In 1953, she recorded "Secret Love" for the film Calamity Jane, a song she initially disliked. But after persuasion from the director and a tearful night spent fighting with her husband, she poured all her raw emotion into the song, again, in a single take. The result was stunning. "Secret Love" topped the Billboard charts for 19 weeks, sold over 4 million copies, and won an Oscar for Best Original Song. Yet despite its success, Doris refused to perform it live due to crippling stage fright, leading some in Hollywood to unfairly label her difficult. Decades later, the song found a second life as an anthem in the LGBTQ+ community. When Doris learned this, she was deeply moved and expressed her support, a powerful gesture for someone of her generation. Her path to Hollywood stardom came unexpectedly. At a party, songwriters Jules Stein and Sammy Kahn were so impressed by her voice they suggested she try acting. When actress Betty Hutton dropped out of Romance on the High Seas in 1948 due to pregnancy, Doris was cast in the lead. Though she had never acted, director Michael Curtiz called her the most everything girl. he'd ever seen. She quickly became a natural on screen, launching her film career. Throughout the 1950s, Doris became a major musical star. In Calamity Jane, 1953, she embraced a rugged, adventurous role and even performed her own dangerous stunts, breaking a rib in the process. The film was a hit, grossing over $3.7 million. In The Pajama Game, 1957, her performance was lively and charming, earning another box office win with $5 million in revenue. Her ability to balance charm with talent made her one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. A turning point came in 1955 with Love Me or Leave Me, where she played singer Ruth Etting. The role was a dramatic shift, portraying abuse and crime in a way that shocked audiences. Even Ruth Etting praised Doris's performance. Though some of the most intense scenes had to be softened to pass censorship, the film still made over $4 million and proved Doris could take on serious roles. Her co-star James Cagney even believed she deserved an Oscar nomination. By the late 1950s and early 1960s, Doris Day was the undisputed queen of the box office. From 1960 to 1964, she was the most popular movie star in America, a title few could match. But behind her sweet smile and radiant charm was a woman whose life held far more complexity than the characters she played. Now, her grandson is helping the world understand the grandmother we loved, but never truly knew. In America, Doris Day achieved a record that only Shirley Temple had before her. One of her biggest box office hits was Pillow Talk in 1959, her first film with Rock Hudson. It cost $3 million to make but earned over $18 million. The chemistry between Day and Hudson was electric, leading to two more successful collaborations, Lover Come Back in 1961 and Send Me No Flowers in 1964. All three films were major successes, and Pillow Talk earned Doris her only Oscar nomination for Best Actress. By 1965, her films had grossed over $200 million, making her the most bankable actress in Hollywood. She was also among the highest-paid stars, earning $750,000 per film plus a share of the profits. Audiences adored her not just for her movies but also for her signature style, sunny personality, and timeless songs. Doris Day had become a true American icon. But being America's sweetheart wasn't always easy. Doris later revealed that living up to her perfect public image was emotionally exhausting. Still, her influence on film, music, and culture remained unmatched. Her career took a new turn when she starred in The Doris Day Show, which ran from 1968 to 1973. It started as a family comedy on a California ranch, but with each new season, the show reinvented itself, changing storylines, settings, and supporting characters. The unpredictability reflected the fast-changing culture of the late 1960s and early 1970s. After the show ended, Doris left acting and turned her focus to a lifelong passion, helping animals. Her love for animals began early, especially after her childhood dog Tiny was killed in an accident. That loss stuck with her and fueled a lifetime of advocacy. Even during her film career, Doris took action for animal welfare. While filming The Man Who Knew Too Much in Morocco, she was appalled by how animals were treated on set and refused to continue filming until they were properly cared for. Her stand led to the creation of a feeding station for local animals. In 1978, she founded the Doris Day Pet Foundation, later renamed the Doris Day Animal Foundation. What began as local rescue work expanded to national efforts, including tackling animal overpopulation. In 1995, she launched World Spay Day to promote spaying and neutering, an event that grew to more than 70 countries and helped millions of animals. She also used her fame to influence animal protection laws and raise public awareness. Though she left Hollywood behind, Doris surprised fans in 2011 with a new album titled My Heart, released when she was 89. The songs were recorded in the 1980s, many written by her late son, Terry Melcher. One track, Happy Endings, even featured Terry's voice alongside hers. The album became a hit, reaching number 9 on the UK Albums Chart and making her the oldest artist to achieve a top 10 album with new material. In the US, it marked her first appearance on the Billboard charts in nearly 50 years. Despite this success, Doris stayed out of the spotlight, choosing instead to focus on animal welfare. Her final public message came in 2019, on her 97th birthday, when she thanked fans and encouraged them to continue supporting her foundation. Behind the glamour, Doris Day's personal life was filled with heartbreak. At just 17, she married Al Jordan, a 23-year-old trombonist. Her mother had warned her against it, but Doris was determined. Unfortunately, her mother's fears came true. On their wedding day in April 1941, after Doris innocently kissed a fellow musician on the cheek to thank him for a gift, Jordan flew into a rage. He dragged her through the streets of New York back to their hotel and beat her severely. The abuse continued. He was controlling, jealous, and violent. When Doris became pregnant, Jordan tried to force her to get an illegal abortion. When she refused, he beat her so badly she nearly lost the baby. The most terrifying moment came when she was 8 months pregnant. Jordan hid a gun in his car, intending to kill her and their unborn child. Doris used quick thinking to talk him down, but the trauma haunted her for life. After her son Terry was born in February 1942, she stayed in the marriage, hoping things would change. But when Jordan began abusing their baby, she found the courage to leave. Sadly, that wasn't the end of her troubled relationships. Her second marriage, to saxophonist George Weidler, seemed promising at first. They married in 1946, but George was uncomfortable with the idea of becoming a stepfather and couldn't handle Doris's rising fame. Just 8 months later, he asked for a divorce, saying he didn't want to be overshadowed. Devastated, Doris returned to Cincinnati with her son, seeking comfort. In 1951, she married Martin Melcher, believing she had finally found happiness. Instead, Melcher became her manager and, with his business partner Jerome Rosenthal, spent 17 years secretly mismanaging her finances. Doris trusted him completely and didn't question his decisions. But when Melcher died suddenly in 1968, Doris discovered her fortune, worth the equivalent of $150 million today, was gone. To make matters worse, she was $500,000 in debt, and Melcher had secretly signed her up for the Doris Day show without telling her. Doris, once a top film star, now had to work in television just to survive. In 1974, she sued Rosenthal and won a $22 million settlement, though she ended up receiving far less than that after negotiating with insurance companies. Her son later said she got only a fraction of what people assumed. The betrayal devastated Doris, and it marked the end of her desire to remain in the spotlight. One of the hardest parts of Melcher's deception was being forced into a career move she hadn't chosen. She had planned to retire after her last movie in 1968, but had no choice but to do the show to pay off Melcher's debts. She only learned about the show a few weeks before it was scheduled to begin. Through all the fame, betrayal, loss, and heartbreak, Doris Day remained resilient. Her voice, her strength, and her compassion left a lasting legacy, not only in Hollywood, but in homes and hearts around the world. When Doris Day passed away at the age of 97, her only grandson, Ryan Melcher, hadn't seen her in 14 years. Shockingly, he learned of her death through Facebook, just like everyone else. For the woman who sang Secret Love, it turned out that she had kept many secrets of her own, including a manager who kept her family away, a $22 million betrayal, and a hidden life behind the high walls of her home in Carmel, California. Now Ryan finally broke his silence about the grandmother America loved but never truly knew. Doris Day was born Doris Marion Kappelhoff on April 3, 1922, in Cincinnati, Ohio. She was raised in a working-class neighborhood by her parents, William, a music teacher, and Alma, a homemaker. Doris had 2 older brothers, but one, Richard, died before she was born, a loss that shaped her resilience. Her parents divorced during her childhood, which was rare and deeply impactful in that era. Raised mostly by her mother, Doris faced many challenges during the Great Depression. Despite hardship, her spirited personality stood out early on. At just 12, she won a contest for standing on her hands for over 3 hours, earning free dance lessons and showcasing the drive that would define her entire life. Doris dreamed of becoming a professional dancer, but at 14, just before a planned trip to Hollywood, tragedy struck. A train hit the car she was riding in, shattering her leg so badly doctors considered amputation. She was bedridden for over a year, enduring multiple surgeries. During this painful time, Doris turned to singing to cope, inspired by Ella Fitzgerald. Her mother recognized her talent and found her a teacher, Grace Rain, who said Doris was the most gifted student she'd ever taught. At 15, Doris began singing professionally at a small Chinese restaurant for $5 a night. One evening, she caught the attention of bandleader Barney Rapp, who had been searching for a female singer. Although she was too young to legally perform in venues serving alcohol, Doris lied about her age to seize the opportunity. In 1939, at age 17, she changed her name. Rapp thought Kappelhoff was too long for a marquee and, after hearing her sing Day After Day, suggested she take the name Doris Day. Though she found it too flashy at first, she eventually embraced it. That name would go on to become one of the most iconic in Hollywood. Her life changed forever when she joined Les Brown's band in 1940. Overcome with stage fright, she almost didn't audition, but Brown encouraged her. She sang "Embraceable You," stunned the band, and got the job. But life on the road was not easy. On Valentine's Day 1941, she learned that her brother Paul had died in a car accident. Devastated, she still performed that night. Her ability to channel deep emotion into her music became a hallmark of her career. In 1945, she recorded "Sentimental Journey," a song Les Brown initially disliked. Doris believed in it so strongly that she threatened to quit if they didn't record it. It became a massive hit and the unofficial anthem for World War II soldiers returning home. Ironically, she had recorded it with a cold, which added a husky emotion to her voice that became part of her signature sound. In 1947, Doris pursued a solo career. Signing with Columbia Records that September, she was one of the first women to receive a $1 million recording contract. But things started off rocky. At her first session, she refused to sing the outdated songs the studio chose and demanded creative control. That bold decision led to "It's Magic," a breakout hit recorded in a single take. The song sold over 2 million copies and earned her an Oscar nomination. One of her most iconic songs, "Secret Love," was written for Calamity Jane in 1953. Initially, Doris hated it and refused to record it. Director David Butler visited her late one night with a piano player and a bottle of champagne to plead with her. After a long night of convincing, she agreed. On the day of recording, she showed up heartbroken from a fight with her husband Martin Melcher and sang it in one emotional take. Everyone in the studio was moved to tears. The raw recording was released as is and became a global sensation, spending 19 weeks at #1 and winning an Oscar. Though she didn't perform it live due to severe stage fright, the song took on new life as an LGBTQ+ anthem in the 1960s and 70s. Something that deeply moved Doris when she learned of it years later. Her acting career began unexpectedly in 1948 when two songwriters heard her sing at a party and suggested she audition for Romance on the High Seas. The original star, Betty Hutton, had dropped out due to pregnancy, and though Doris had never acted before, director Michael Curtiz was so impressed by her natural talent that he gave her the role. Her performance launched her film career and led to a long-term contract with Warner Brothers. Doris became a musical film sensation in the 1950s. Calamity Jane, 1953, was a huge hit, showing her in a tougher, more physical role. She even broke a rib doing her own stunts. In The Pajama Game, 1957, she starred in a Fun Factory set musical, further proving her box office appeal. But a turning point came with Love Me or Leave Me, 1955, where she played a singer in an abusive relationship. The role showed her dramatic range and won critical acclaim. Co-star James Cagney believed she deserved an Oscar. Between 1960 and 1964, Doris Day was the most popular movie star in America, a record only matched by Shirley Temple. Her 1959 romantic comedy Pillow Talk, her first with Rock Hudson, was a smash hit. Made for $3 million, it earned over $18 million. Her on-screen chemistry with Hudson was so strong they made 2 more films together, Lover Come Back, 1961, and Send Me No Flowers, 1964. Her movies grossed over $200 million by 1965, making her Hollywood's most bankable star. She earned $750,000 per film and a share of profits. People loved her not just for her films, but for her grace, style, and musical talent. Still, being America's sweetheart was emotionally taxing, and she later admitted it was hard to always live up to that perfect image. From 1968 to 1973, she starred in The Doris Day Show, which changed its format and characters every season, reflecting the shifting American culture. After the series ended, she stepped away from acting and focused on her true passion, animal welfare. Her advocacy began in childhood after her dog, Tiny, died in an accident. Even during her film career, she stood up for animals, once halting production on The Man Who Knew Too Much in Morocco until the mistreated animals on set were cared for. In 1978, she launched the Doris Day Pet Foundation, which grew into the Doris Day Animal Foundation, working on national issues like pet overpopulation. In 1995, she founded World Spay Day, which spread to over 70 countries and helped millions of animals. She also pushed for legislative changes and used her fame to champion animal rights. In 2011, at age 89, Doris surprised everyone by releasing a new album, My Heart, featuring songs recorded in the 1980s, many written by her late son Terry Melcher. One track, Happy Endings, even featured his voice. The album hit number 9 on the UK charts, making her the oldest artist with a top 10 album of new material. It was her first Billboard chart appearance in 50 years. Doris's personal life was filled with pain. Her first marriage, at 17 to trombonist Al Jordan, turned abusive almost immediately. Jordan was controlling, jealous, and violent. When she became pregnant, he tried to force her into an illegal abortion. She refused, and he beat her so badly she nearly lost the baby. At 8 months pregnant, he drove her to a remote area with a gun, planning to kill her and their unborn child. She calmed him down and survived, but the trauma left lasting scars. After giving birth to her son Terry in 1942, she left him when he began harming the child. Her second marriage to saxophonist George Weidler also failed quickly. He resented her fame and left after 8 months. In 1951, she married Martin Melcher, who adopted Terry and became her manager. For 17 years, Melcher and his partner Jerome Rosenthal secretly squandered her fortune, leaving her $500,000 in debt when Melcher died in 1968. She was shocked to learn he had also committed her to a television show, The Doris Day Show, without her knowledge. Though she sued and won a $22 million settlement in 1974, she received only a fraction. The betrayal led her to step away from Hollywood. Throughout her career, she battled anxiety and depression. In 1952, while filming I'll See You in My Dreams, she suffered a breakdown, believing she was dying of heart disease. She turned to alcohol instead of therapy and only began proper treatment in 1971 at nearly 50. Doris's only child, Terry Melcher, became a successful music producer, working with the Byrds, Paul Revere and the Raiders, and the Beach Boys. In 1968, he narrowly avoided being a victim of the Manson murders when he moved out of the Cielo Drive house that later became the scene of Sharon Tate's murder. His rejection of Manson may have made him a target. After Terry's death in 2004, Ryan Melcher hoped to reconnect with his grandmother, but Doris's manager, Bob Bashara, intervened. He allegedly barred Ryan from seeing her, blaming the family rift on his parents' divorce. Ryan says security fences and guards around her home made it nearly impossible to visit. In 2019, after her death, he expressed regret for not trying harder. Publicist Charlie Walters countered Ryan's claims, saying attempts had been made to reunite them, including an invite for her 90th birthday. Walters noted that Ryan's website once asked not to be contacted about celebrity matters, suggesting the divide may have been mutual. In her later years, Doris became completely reclusive. After Melcher's death, she withdrew from public life, living quietly on an 11-acre ranch in Carmel, California, surrounded by up to 30 dogs, each with its own room. She even created a separate kitchen just for them. She declined public honors like the Kennedy Center Awards and hadn't made a public appearance since 1989. Locals knew her simply as the kind woman who loved animals and served food on paper plates. Doris Day's life was a mixture of dazzling success, private heartbreak, and a deep, enduring compassion that outshone even her Hollywood legacy.